Calling to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for the Warrenville Public Library District. It is Wednesday, March 20th at 7 p.m. And we're going to go ahead and do our roll call. Trustee Lazan. Here. Trustee Pika. Present. Trustee Schmidt. Here. Trustee Warren.
Present.
Trustee Stahl. Present. Trustee DeRocher is present. And our Executive Director, Jason Stillman, and all the beautiful department heads. It's nice to see everyone here tonight. All right. Could I have a motion for approval of the agenda? Do we need to make any changes?
Do not need the closed session.
We don't need a closed session. Yay. Okay. We move item 19. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion was made by Trustee Warren. Seconded by Trustee Schmidt. Wasn't sure who said it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The agenda is approved. Now we're on to presentations, which we don't have any. Any public comments? We don't even have chairs for public tonight. So.
Yep.
Oh, two in the back. We have this correspondence. Does anybody have any comment about 6A or B?
Did they just send those? Or
Yeah.
did they request them, or?
No, they just send them. I think it's just routine, something they send every year.
Oh, okay. Standard procedure.
Yeah.
Okay, then we're going to move right on to the consent agenda, and that is you. She's eating a bugle.
Item A, approve minutes of the February 21st, 2024 decennial committee meeting. B, approve minutes of the February 21st, 2024 regular board meeting. C, receive and file financial report for February 2024. D, approve non-resident library card participation for fiscal year 25, utilizing the tax bill method for calculation of the non-resident fee and 15% calculation for non-resident renters. E, approve updated policy number 210, library cards. Item F, approve updated policy number 250, public access computers. Item G, approve updated policy number 320, library use and removal of policy number 320's COVID-19 addendum and COVID-19 mitigation protocols. Item H, approve updated section 4.6, attire of the personnel handbook policy.
There's a lot on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
That we, approve the consent agenda as read by Secretary Stahl.
Second. Is there any further discussion about the consent agenda? No? Okay, then we're going to go ahead with a voice vote. Trustee Lazan.
Aye.
Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Stahl.
Aye.
And Trustee DeRocher votes aye. Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to the regular agenda, if I could have a motion for,
That we pay invoices in the amount of $60,921.24 for the period of February 22nd, 2024 through March 20, 2024, including electronic payments and checks 9832 through 9876 with no voided checks.
yay.
Second.
All right, the motion was made by Trustee Pika and seconded by Trustee Warren. We'll do a voice vote again. Trustee Stahl. Aye. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee Lazan.
Aye.
And Trustee DeRocher votes aye. So 8A, the payments were approved. 8B.
I move that we transfer $175,000 from commercial checking account to operating checking.
Your motion was made by Trustee Warren. Can I have a second?
Second, Sandy.
Seconded by Trustee Lazan. Also a
Roll call.
roll call vote.
Aye.
Trustee Stahl. Very anxious to vote. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Taking this time. Good, good, good. Trustee Schmidt,
Aye.
trustee Pika,
Deliberate.
Aye.
trustee Lazan,
Aye.
and trustee DeRosa votes aye. Okay, so the transfer of funds has been approved. Moving to unfinished business, we have to hear about the air conditioning screen project.
Huzzah! We are done.
Look how beautiful it is.
So fence done. Yep,
Yes.
looks very nice.
God, the
It's
other
very
day.
it's very tall, but it's very nice. So the city came and did an inspection, and I only just heard from them today, but it was good news. We passed the fence inspection and we passed the landscaping inspection. So we are done. We do not need to add any additional landscaping. The project is complete.
Yeah, you know, there's such a thing as a landscaping inspection. That's pretty impressive.
Indeed. Well, since that was part of the code, it was have shielding and then landscaping to soften the aesthetic, I believe was the wording. So
So
I
is
think
the
they were
land-
checking for flamingo yard art.
So is the landscaping included in the picture, the tree and the bushes, is that all? Yeah. Or was there more that we're just not seeing?
Oh, that was just landscaping that was already there.
Oh, no.
We did not add any additional landscaping,
Okay.
and per his inspection, we do not need to,
Okay.
which is great because now we're done spending money on it. So unless, as I mentioned last meeting, if we decide we want to investigate the idea of like hanging on the inside some of the sound dampening sheets.
We'll see if we get any feedback
Material.
from the neighbor.
Well, that, and I think until they power up this summer, we're really not gonna know.
Right. So I think if we have done our due diligence and we've met up to code and we have met the complaint, then I think we're good, but so I'm thrilled with that. And I included the Plata survey in the packet as well, which is a little hard to read in that size, but they came back and added the fence to the plat as well. So, but now we've got that, you can see the solid black line that follows our property. So now you can tell that the parking and the square rather than triangle shaped area is ours between us and the townhomes. So if they ask for it again, I will happily send them the updated survey. But now we've got that in case anybody asks any future questions, which probably guarantees that no one will ask a thing. But
Yeah.
we have it just in case. So
We've got
Just
it.
out of curiosity, what is the charge to provide a platform?
so they had to come out and do the work. They had to update the legal description, which I didn't entirely understand, but under plat of survey, you can see it says legal description and then
They had
lines.
to add a couple of therefores.
Yeah, text that I don't entirely understand.
Does this need to
Um,
be, is this submitted then to the recorder's office at DuPage County so that?
Oh, that is a very good question. I will ask them that. They came out and I'm not sure if they had any to do, but they were gonna set the corner monuments or whatever they're called to mark all the corners of the property. Yeah, and then they did come out and stake the property line so that the fence people knew where the line was so that they didn't go over it. So with all that said, the total cost was $8,850.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, yeah, I
That
figured
was a lot,
it was a lot. Yes. I don't know if
but
we,
less than what we had originally thought, which is good.
Yeah.
so that was for the plat. The fence was $6,287.
Yeah.
So it was, I'm
Heck of a lot more work.
ironic that the plat ended up costing more than the fence, but I kind of figured it would. My wife working at the Clarendon Hills Library needed to do it because she was having a fence dispute with one of her neighbors. And I think her plat survey for a parcel of land that's probably a quarter of our size costs, I think, like $2,500 at least. It might have been 3,000. So when he gave me that price, I was like, yeah, that probably is about right. We probably, again, maybe I should have done more due diligence and shopping around, but since they were local in town and they had worked and done the plat of dedication, I just figured they were the best bet to do it and get it done. So
Well, if you've got a plot, then you're gonna find that nobody's gonna contest what you've got.
right.
All right, we're gonna move on to 10A. New business, review policy, number 2255 on makerspace. And wow, lots to say about makerspace.
You know, it was funny because some other libraries' policies were very, very brief. Some of them were long. Like I said in my notes, I kind of, since we were started from scratch, I just looked at a bunch of different policies and stole all the things that I liked and made the most sense, cobbled it together, and then made multiple revisions to get it where we wanted. But I just wanted, since I think a lot of libraries' policies just cover the 3D printer and not much else, and I figured we probably wanted it to cover the Cricut machine and anything additional we might add in the future. So, so yeah, I just try to cover the use of the equipment, the content, which is probably the biggest thing that most people cover, because there's, you know, all the prohibited sorts of projects like weapons and things that we will not 3D print for anybody. So that was probably the biggest, most important one to cover. But then we just figured we would add in some of the details about, you know, submitting your project and some of the costs. And, you know, and a couple of those liability statements at the end. So I feel like it's pretty comprehensive. I don't know if it's more than we needed, but I feel like it pretty much covers everything we could think of at the time. So
if someone requests to use our digital printer, are they gonna get all this to read? Are they gonna know in advance if they can't use it for
when they
any of this stuff?
linked on the 3D printer submission form will be a link to the policy,
Which no one will read.
which they probably won't read. Exactly. But on our website, we're going to have a page for where the submission form will be, and we'll have the list of materials and costs. So at the very worst, they will see that. So for the 3D printing, they'll submit that form. It'll come to staff. We'll figure out, they submit their file. So then we'll figure out how many grams it's going to use so that we can then send back to them an estimate of how much it will cost. So it'll be the $1 flat fee plus whatever the material cost is. And then depending on, hopefully, lots and lots of people making requests, we can give them a time estimation of this will, you know, we can get this to you in 2 weeks or whatever. And then staff will go ahead and manage the queue of the 3D prints, and then we'll notify people when they're done and put them at member services, and then they'll come in and pick them up. So that's the 3D printer. For the Cricut machine, since it's a little more hands-on of, you know, they pretty much kind of need to have their own files and we work with them. So that will be more of like a one-on-one kind of an appointment. They'll come in, make an appointment with one of the staff to do it. We're still going to run the machine, at least for the time being. We wanted to be in control of all the machines to keep them in good working order. But then we'll kind of walk them through the process of how the Cricut machine works and do the project. Obviously, that is essentially like it. You can do that in a half hour or hour, depending on what it is they're doing. And it just cuts the things, as opposed to the 3D printer, which, although ours is very, very fast, it seems to be twice as fast as the one that I was used to at Almond Park. So, but theoretically, a 3D print job could take a couple hours. So it's not like you're going to sit there and wait.
Oh.
So hence why that is easy to submit online. We just verify everything looks good. Then we can, you know, hit print, send it to the printer, and then wait for it to be done.
Well, I'm
So
glad that it is so thorough. I'd rather have too much and then if we have to dial it back or modify it, then not have enough and all of a sudden, you know, have to add a whole bunch more. Where is it gonna be exactly? I mean, because I thought I saw something where people could come in and watch it.
Yeah, so we've got a cart, which currently called our creator cart. We're not broadly advertising that term, but because it may at some point expand to a more permanent space or be somewhere in the computer lab if we gain more things to be part of the maker space. But so we've got a cart that the 3D printer and the Cricut machine can live on. So we were anticipating having it at the kids desk and at the adult desk. So that's easy enough. We've got a shield around it. So that people like to just kind of walk up and go, ooh, and just watch it print. It's kind of mesmerizing. So that won't happen obviously with the Cricut machine, because that's pretty much like we're doing it then. And so nobody extra is standing around watching, but the 3D printer at least can hang out at a desk on the cart and print, and people can watch. And then it's kind of a self-promotion as well. So be like, what is that? Like, well, let us tell you about it.
I'm understanding, and maybe I missed something, that it will be an online application process. Are there also going to be, my concern is that limiting people from applying because they can only apply online. Is there plans to be able to do it in the
Like on
library
paper?
with the librarian's assistance?
If I believe we stated, if you need help, you can make an appointment with one of the staff,
Right,
and then they
yeah,
can,
but I wanted
they
to
can
make
walk you
sure
through it then.
there's a way for people.
So then we might have to, you know, sit down with them at a computer, because if they have a 3D printer project, it has to be a certain type of file, which is on the computer. So one way or another, they're going to need to be able to
I
find.
would imagine anybody doing this is technologically savvy, but I was thinking that
But yeah,
possibly.
staff will be happy to sit down and be like, here's Thingiverse. You like this thing? Let me show you how to submit that, and let's go on our website and we'll show you how to submit the form.
And the form is just basic questions, or do
Yeah.
we need to review it in conjunction with approving the policy?
I don't think so. Can you remember the questions, Duncan, off the top of your head?
What material you want, what color, how big you want it.
Just basic.
Yeah, so that we can contact you.
Related to the project.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We tried to make it the minimal amount of questions,
Oh,
but
that's what I'm going with.
just your name and contact so that we can obviously contact you, and then, yeah, the couple details about the project.
Make sure we weren't asking, what are you gonna do with this one?
Well, I'm just curious, like, what's the amount of money that someone would spend on a project like this? Like, what's the smallest amount? Really? Okay.
What was the answer?
You can spend a couple of dollars on it.
Like, I guess when you were showing us the projects you made, at the last meeting last month, of like, what would have been the average cost of some of those? I mean,
Cool.
How much room are you devoting to, I guess, material stocks for storage for filament types
Oh.
and colors? And
Well, I think we'll store some stuff on the cart, or if we have extra more than that fits on the cart, we'll, I assume back in our staff area, have storage for it too. But I think we're going to get started. I think we've got a relatively modest variety of materials. If it starts to be popular and people are making these requests for all these different types, we're like, okay, clearly we need to have a couple different colors of the shiny marbly type of filament for the 3D printer. Then we can, you know, invest in some more materials. So, but
And just to clarify, the library is not, other than purchasing equipment, there's no considerable expense that the library is going to assume, or?
no. So part of so we're charging that $1 flat fee for use to kind of help pay for maintain the equipment, and then there's the 25 cents per gram for the 3D printing filament, and then I wrote it in here, the $2 for the sheets of stuff for the Cricut machine. So that's to help pay for the materials, so that it's not
And
necessarily
when do we roll this out, or when is your anticipated?
June 1st.
Thank you.
I was at a meeting at Forest Preserve, and they have a 3D printer. And one of the staff, a friend of mine, she had a broken Fisher-Price toy that had like a little projectile for a pirate ship that shot out, and it was broken, it didn't work. And she brought it in, and the staff programmed it, and it like totally fixed this toy. And you know, I was envisioning it creating new things, but when you think of, you know, parts for stuff, repairs, and it's just, I find it's mind blowing to lay people like me who aren't that familiar with the technology. I'm enthusiastic about what.
Yeah, it's really just kind of limited by
Yeah, your imagination.
your imagination and I suppose your design skills, but there's lots of projects out there that are just freely available for people to take and use. So
They're doing like dental implants.
are they?
Well, she.
Right. And they've got the staff to back it up too. I'm sure one of the department heads would want to put that implant in.
And I remember a few years ago, there were some medical students that made an artificial limb with a 3D printer.
Right.
That's kind of cool.
With the vinyl cutter and with the one-on-one session with the staff, about how many staff are you trained? I mean, obviously not all of them, but like, I mean,
So we've got, I don't know if it's everybody in public services, but the goal is to have the public services staff be trained in it so that
okay.
they can rotate through and what was that?
Okay, that's good.
And then Duncan got us the equipment and set up, so he knows. And then I believe Gail also, at least is familiar with the Cricut machine. I'm not sure that she's familiar with the 3D printer, but she loves the Cricut machine. So I think and has one at home. So she is a extra expert. So
All right. So next month we'll be voting on implementing this policy?
Mhm.
Okay. Wonderful.
Shall I go ahead and put it on the consent agenda next month then? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any?
If you-
I'll note that right now. Connie's already a yes.
If you think of anything in the meantime, please let me know. But
Okay. All right, we're on to the director's report, which is on page 60. Sounds like you were very busy on your staff day.
Yeah.
we were. It was a great day. It was. So, yeah, we had I liked the information about IMRF, like I said, because since you all made it happen that all the positions are now 20 hours or more, which means they're all IMRF qualified, which is great. But that meant I think there was a bunch of new people to IMRF. And I know I spent like 17 years at Elmwood Park before we had a staff day and had an IMRF speaker come, and I learned a couple things that I wish I had known 17 years earlier. So I thought it was really important for us to have that speaker so that everybody knew about their retirement benefit that they were getting. So the AFLAC presentation was good too. The JJ's player presentation for the disability awareness was fantastic. The report says they talked about,
I want to see the good and bad ways to handle the situations.
oh, well, so they would present the bad way,
Right.
which would be
Be obnoxious or.
either, disregarding the person with the disability and just talking to the person with them, which is not polite, or it would be using the disability first language instead of the person first language. So they would demonstrate what not to do. And then they did this after they had presented to us. So then they said, can we take a volunteer? And then somebody would come up and demonstrate the correct way to do it.
Nice.
And then after doing that, they went to the panel and said, was that the right way? And they asked, yes. So it was good. It was nice and interactive.
So what kind of disabilities or what was the range that they demonstrated? I was just curious. I mean, I know that we always think it's something obvious, such as, say blindness or deafness or, somebody in a wheelchair or whatever, but like, say autistic spectrum or, did they?
Oh, in the examples that they were giving. One was for guy, I can't remember the phrase, but for sighted guide, thank you. Showing that because there's a correct, again, a good and a bad way to help somebody. Trying to think what the other examples were that they had.
Some of the people had processing difficulties, and you don't want to just like grab them or lay your hand in front of them. You need to let them process what it is you said before you continue with your request. Some of them have speech issues, so it was a little harder to understand what they were saying.
Right.
And that it was okay to ask them to repeat it, or if they're able to write it down, what they needed from you.
It was good.
It was.
All right, is there anything else you want to highlight? I'm thrilled that there might be some annual DEI goals. for the
Yes.
staff. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank you to Mary
thrilled
Kelly
about
and the
that.
committee for,
I was just curious if we as a board would any of that, or, I mean, I guess some of it is to make us aware of what, say, whether we maybe need more depth, more policies, you know, change anything that maybe we're missing, that, in terms of any DEI training.
We could certainly benefit. from DEI.
we can, Mary Kelly?
There is a training coming up by Elizabeth Biz Lindsay Ryan, through, I believe it's through Rails. I'm asking Paul to pull it up if you could. It's for training trustees on it. So, if you look at the last thing that Rails, the last email that Rails sent out this week, it's on there.
Could you send us the link, like in a separate email?
But
so that we can save it and click on it?
I was just looking at it. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. I'm like, oh, it's for trustees. Always in my eye out for 'em.
You know, it might be a worthy effort for us to have a goal of everyone doing a training in a certain amount of time, you know, I think it's worthy of our time as trustees.
So if you're interested, once the committee sets, I believe at the moment, we're aiming for 2 required trainings that the committee will assign for all staff to do within the year. And then I believe 2 additional trainings of your choice. So if you, when they have the assigned training that they're gonna give everybody, I can forward that on to you all.
That would be great.
It's April 26th from 9 to noon. It's called EDI Trustee Training, Navigating Differences with Library Boards. This introductory session will include a general overview of current trends and research on handling diversity topics, particularly race, gender, ability, and family structure. The conversation will include understanding each other's perspectives and how these may impact our communities, presented by Elizabeth Biz, Lindsay Ryan, and Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Professor, Trainer, and Consultant.
That would be particularly useful going into our strategic planning, honestly. Because we do need to be very aware of our diverse population.
Well, I will find that link and forward it to you.
Thank you very much, Mary Collin.
So at least one thing that another great thing that the committee is doing is, as we've been working on these updating the policies, I did a little belatedly, but I've been giving the policies to the DEI committee to after we've all worked it to death so that they can look at it with the DEI lens to see if there is anything that we have missed. So thank you for that. So
Anything else you want to highlight from your?
I do have a question. So
Sure.
I saw that you submitted the report. Do we get a response back? Like, you know, if.
Are you talking about the December?
Yeah, the decennial,
Decennial.
yeah, decennial committee report that we submitted. Did we get any type of response back or review?
No.
Oh, so it's just.
So some of the counties are send it on to the county somebody. DuPage nicely had an online portal, so you could just upload and submit. And, you know, on the page, it said, you have successfully submitted your report. And that's all I've heard. I got no email confirmation, no response. Generally from among the director chatter is everybody's kind of annoyed because there doesn't, like, this was required out of all of us.
Anybody paying
And there
attention.
doesn't seem to be much of a plan to actually do anything with it.
Right,
So
that's like us, you know, did we do good? Did we do bad? Is there something that we needed, that we overlooked, that we need to do differently or something?
I think we did great.
Oh, no, I think we did too, but I'm just like.
I'm
Yeah.
on another decennial committee in the county, and I think we did very good.
Well, that's good. That's good.
We were thorough. But I think you having that template to work with was key.
Yeah, that was very helpful because otherwise I wouldn't have.
Yeah,
It would have been a much harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a. for my first year of learning, it was a great way to just dive in and be like, okay.
Guess I'm gonna learn all this.
Brian did, right?
Okay. So the broadband equity, I just have a question, is it like,
Sure.
are we not ever gonna qualify? Like, why did we not, why are we ineligible? Because we're too small?
No, because our, what is the right wording? But we have too much money. Like, I think it is more for
Oh.
disadvantaged communities that,
Okay,
so, but what they were arguing is that we are the, was it Community Anchor Institution, the
Right.
CAI,
so we need to be.
as a library, so that they would like it that all of those institutions should qualify. So hence why they were wanting us to do this test. But again, I submitted that, emailed the person back. I didn't hear anything, but I've assumed they were probably in touch with all the libraries in the state, so they might have been
A little busy.
a little busy. So
Yeah, okay.
I'm not necessarily holding my breath that we will qualify, but it's a nice little hope. Because it would be lovely if we could
You never
qualify
know.
and get funding and
Yeah.
get faster speeds too.
Yeah.
Because as our test,
We've gotten funding for other things.
We-
Maybe you can call them up and say, hey, I was wondering if you got it. And when we might expect. And
When
how
we can
much
expect
money
that check
should
in the
we-
mail.
So with the speed being under, and say if we don't qualify, how do we get faster speeds? I mean, it seems, I guess it's just sort of like, it's out there. I mean, how do you go boost our speed?
You pay for it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just like your own house, you gotta pay for it. You want it fast, you gotta pay.
You need fiber cable for that. Sure, and I don't know if
There's that too. Yeah. Sometimes there's an element of the infrastructure for it.
So it
but-
seems like there's technology that has to be there before you can get it. I don't know. Is there other in town venues that have this kind of speed?
Oh, the 1,000 megabytes per second.
Sure.
I am not sure.
That's what
I believe I think we theoretically have the infrastructure for it. We just don't pay for that speed. If I have understood our situation correctly.
That'd be part of the budget thing. Or increase for operating expenses. Here's the document for work on 5% less or 5% and more. You've got to have
Where,
a
what,
referendum for it, or budget appropriation for,
oh, is that in the letter from Roger?
right. So
I mean, we could certainly budget for a faster speed, but at the moment, I think our speeds are, as far as I know, are doing all right. I don't think anybody's
We
complained.
were
So,
definitely having a problem here a few years ago where things were slow, but things have gotten much better.
but I mean, having 1,000 megabytes per second ensures that nobody's going to complain about anything, but I would think. But as far as I know, and Duncan, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, we have no complaints at the moment. So I think everything's working fine with the speed that we have.
Okay, anything else you want to highlight from your report?
Nope.
I have a question on the statistical
Oh,
snapshot. please.
Sure.
I noticed a decrease in the number of action.
Yes, if you take a look at the member services report that Lori wrote, she has.
I missed it finally.
So I think it hadn't maybe been done in a few years, what with, in 2020, you joined Swan, and then there was that COVID thing,
Yeah.
and then some staff turnover, so might not have been very high on Sandy's list to do. But what typically happens every year is they have the NCOA, which is the National Change of Address. And so Swan will run that report and tell you, here's all the people that have moved. either, and they'll let you know if they moved in state or let you know if they've moved out of state. And so typically what one would do with that information is then either deactivate a card or delete the card altogether because they're just not here anymore. Similarly, they also give us an activity report every month of, you know, if somebody's been not having any activity on their library card for 5 years, or currently it's at 8 years, 7 years,
This year's 7, and then next year they go down to 5,
down to 5.
and then it'll stay at 5.
So then as part of our policy that you just approved, we updated it to say if somebody has not been active on their library card for 5 or more years, then their card will become deactivated. So, so Lori has been going through the last 3 years of the change of address reports and finding that we've had a whole bunch of people that have moved. And so she's been deleting people because if they live in Florida, they should not have an account with us anymore.
I just noticed it was about 1,000.
Yeah, so it's been a lot. I mean, it accumulates over a few years. So if it happens every year, then it will be a much smaller, less noticeable amount. But since Lori was catching up from the previous years, there was rather more to be deleted. So that accounts for the drastic change.
Still can't find it, but it's okay.
It is there.
It's at the bottom of Lori's page.
Yeah,
Okay.
the last paragraph.
Yeah, I'm always looking on that page for percent of the self-service agenda.
That's right.
And the one year she does.
Yeah. I'm always looking for one thing.
All right, does any, we're gonna move on to the department head reports. Do any trustees have any comments about any of the department head reports?
I have one for you. And that has been happening all the time. I think the coffee machine is fun. The vending.
We haven't had a coffee machine.
There was a little, yeah,
The one that-
the Keurig was years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, then. Was it really like this?
It probably was.
Yeah. Well, there's that space there, and I thought that's where it was.
Jason and I talked about that, and we're looking into possibly another snack machine. Since it is a cafe area.
That's where it.
And snacks would go nicely with the drinks.
Because don't we have a snack machine?
Is there what?
Didn't we have a snack machine at one time?
Yeah.
It was another
located
machine.
downstairs.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That was a.
Right.
We don't have room down there anymore, we've got the puzzles and the magazines. Paperback exchange down there. Pretty full.
Any other questions or comments for the department heads?
I have a question for the state. When you're done, you can just walk through and everything. Does the city require you to post evacuation plans in the library and spot?
Don't think so.
I just was curious because when the fire department was here, they didn't mention. Because I know I did, and it was a council thing, and I was just wondering if that's something. Because there was conversation in the report about the bus tail to evacuation point.
That is certainly something I consider.
I think.
Once we're done with everything, I can
Yeah.
see if I can make a public friendly map that
Yeah, because I know some places, you know, you just have the general picture and say like, you know, you are here, and then like at least point out where the nearest exit is so that.
we can look. I mean, we evaluate whether that is useful because we're not that big and it's mostly one floor, so
And that
it
is
should be
making a difference.
fairly obvious where it is to go for exits. So,
Or just-
but yeah, we'll make sure we review that.
Other questions or comments on the department head reports? Okay. we're gonna move to the president's report, which basically talks about, our next meeting is starting at 6 because we're gonna do the budget review. And you should fill out your menu request and hand that to Jackie before you leave tonight if possible. And then, please do submit your statement of economic interest.
Did that yesterday.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is it helpful for you to know if they've done it?
You can let me know. That would be nice, but I can also log in and see who has and has not done it. So
Okay.
I recall getting a letter that said I need to do it, so,
yeah, you should have gotten an email.
And- Yeah, it should have come through your library account.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
I'll see if I can.
No, I'm just saying, if it wasn't there, then you didn't get it. And
I'll see if-
Connie, you've been a board member long enough that they should
I had
have
to do
you.
it as a candidate.
Yeah,
And then you have to do it right away again as a
Yeah.
official.
I haven't had to do it yet. This is
And
the-
every year.
Right, so this is my first year. That's what I'm
Yeah.
practicing.
okay,
I'll look into it for you.
thank you. Okay, moving on to the treasurer's report.
As everybody can see, we got the hotel grant for last year.
Woo-hoo.
The comments, yeah, everybody loves those, and the musical matinees. And then we also did get money from the DuPage Foundation. And a big donation,
That's
which
nice.
is really nice.
Indeed.
So, yay,
Yeah.
always nice to get money.
Always nice.
It'll pay for things.
Exactly. So yeah, that was from Amy Harmon, who had donated last year. Sandy had worked with her to get it set up because I think it was like converting stock to a donation. But
Right, yeah.
from the correspondence that I saw between the two of them last year, it looked as though the intent was for it to be an annual donation. I didn't want to hold my breath about that, but we
There
have
it is
now
again.
gotten the second year, so
Yay.
that's really lovely of her. So
It
It's
is.
really lovely.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Grant,
oh, the grant, yes, yes.
and that's about the amount we included.
So far so for the current year's budget, I added the amount that we got last year.
I see.
And so for the fiscal year 25, I'm going to include this $1,600. Although it seems as though it's going up $200 each year, but I figured if we get 200 bonus dollars, that's great.
Okay. Secretary's report. Everything looks good. Good. All right, Rick, you want to take it away on committee reports? You haven't sent us the link yet, right?
No,
When can we expect that?
soon.
Very definitive. Yes, we have to have it done by April 1st, and it is March 20th.
I'll put it up.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
Good, good,
oh,
good.
were we gonna talk about the Laconic trustee banquet?
We could, let's talk about it.
We're gonna talk about the,
Trustee banquet on this one.
Oh, I forgot to mention it
Yeah.
in my report. So the banquet's coming up on May 3rd. I cannot attend. It's a lovely event, often. And I don't know anything about these presenters. The executive director of the advocacy group, Every Library, and Kelly Jensen of Book Riot. It doesn't really say what they're talking about.
Book Riot is a
I'm still right.
website that does book reviews, book lists. It's just essentially talks about books and promotes reading and libraries and whatnot. So
That's my birthday and I have plans to go out with my family that night, so.
what?
I think it's very fortunate that it's your birthday.
I'll go.
So is anybody interested in attending? You want to go? Okay, great.
My wife's out of town,
All right.
Anybody else?
How many, what's the?
I think we budgeted for 2. Is
Okay.
that what I wrote there? 2
No.
trustees, yeah. Okay, we'll get you signed up, Rick, and if anybody else changes their mind, let us know.
I feel like I'm spending a lot of money going to this conference, so I'm not.
It's okay.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's the library would pay for you to go. You know.
I know, library, geez, it's expensive for the conference.
Yeah.
It always is.
It's very informative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not thinking about going.
But if you want to go to the trustee banquet as well, you can.
Yeah.
We budgeted for it.
See,
You're brand new, Connie. We got to catch you up.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, because especially talking to people from other libraries that are local, I mean, it's sort of a neat chance to network with
Can I
everybody.
let you know? It's a Friday, is it a night?
Yeah, it's Friday night or.
6 to 9 in Oak Park.
So I just want to circle back to the statement of economic interest. It was nice that this fact sheet got added to the packet. I filled mine out before. I looked at the fact sheet, and every single year I have these questions. What is included and what isn't? So I just have to remember that the fact sheet is coming. So Connie, when you do your statement of economic interest, be sure to have this fact sheet at your side, because then you'll be like, oh, that doesn't count, that doesn't count, that doesn't count. So.
You know, I actually made it, I thought I'd like my favorite guy. Make sure,
Well, I would look at this first. This is really helpful.
I'm gonna take this with me. I mean, I was gonna share.
Good plan. All right. Okay, is there any other, Rick, you want to say anything else about that evaluation?
I gotta find it again.
Okay. And you
It's the
really
same
want
form.
everybody to get it in by April 1st?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
April 1st.
you can tweak the date if you want. This was the schedule that I found in Sandy's records from last year. So
Depends on how long it takes you to find it.
Yeah, and hopefully it's still more than one day.
Yeah. Okay.
or if you'd like, I can send everybody the link. I forwarded it to Rick and Jill and CC'd you on it. But if you'd like me to email it out to everybody, then I'm happy to do that. But
No, it
you would
really- it needs to come from-
you would still need to do the compiling of it.
And
Rather
that way
than-
we make sure we email it to the correct person.
Okay.
Yeah, it needs to come from.
Okay.
Okay,
If you need me to resend it to you, let me know.
all right. So, yeah, any trustee comments?
I'm looking at this, banquet, do you have to be a member of the Coney?
Yeah.
We are.
So individuals aren't members of the library itself.
It stands for library administrators, I'm trying to remember, I always
I can't
forget it, and
remember.
I always-
I lose track of all the acronyms and
Yeah.
library land.
I don't have any items for information or discussion, do you?
Nope.
All right, we are at our final request for a motion.
I move the adjourn meeting. for 20.
Could I have a second? Okay, motion was made by trustee Schmidt and seconded by trustee Lazam. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
At 7:49.